Dating is the human courtship ritual in which individuals in the species attempt to adequately determine a sexual partner. However, it seems that a lot of people have trouble finding a date, despite the fact that you could pay for a social worker. I would say that I'm extremely credible for this presentation since I've held a girl's hand once. Just gonna let that one sink in. So today, I want to talk to you about how to successfully get a date. Whether you are a 15-year-old trying to ask out your crush that doesn't know who you are, or you're
a 43-year-old janitor.
I'll be going over these main points. How to find out the type of person you want to pursue, where to find a date, basic flirting, and finally some red flags to look for in your potential partner.
I'll have two number nines, a number nine large, a number...
First part in getting a date is finding out the type of person you want to date in the first place. Normally this is someone who shares things in common with you. For example, if you spend 3 hours with your date explaining the intricacies of the Bionicle lore, and they are as excited as you about it, then you should probably just marry them on the spot. The point is, you should date someone who shares your general moral and life values, since a pair that mostly believes in the same things is a relationship that will most likely last longer. This obviously varies from person to person, so go for what works best for you. Personally, I try and go for 7s and above with low standards and self-esteem to make sure we're on the same page.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Now this part of the process can be one of the most difficult in getting a date. Depending on the type of person you want to look for, the difficulty of finding a date will vary. For example, if you're a Greek god who can impregnate a woman just by looking at her hard enough, I doubt finding a date will be that hard for you. But if you're a 352-pound weeaboo trash, I don't think there are enough parents' basements in America that'll help you find your soulmate. The way most people find their dates are normally at places in which they are regularly present. Places like work are normally good spots. I would suggest the local border patrol station, but all the chicks there get sent back home anyways, so I wouldn't bother.
Bruh.
Now that you've found someone you're interested in dating, now comes the hard part, which is flirting. Flirting is the stage in which you try to communicate honestly with someone you're romantically interested in. A good way to do this is to establish some sort of physical rapport. For example, studies show that a way a girl shows interest in a guy is when they laugh a lot at the guy's jokes and lightly touch them on the arm or shoulder. In other words, you don't have to worry about that. Now, once you're finally on your first date though, there's something you'll soon notice, and it's that both parties are quickly going to find out that someone is going to have to make the first move. From there, you'll quickly realize that no one knows what they're doing. A girl is probably going to be playing 4D chess in her head, while the guy is pondering whether or not a half carton of eggs can be considered a meal. Tips for this stage is usually just to survive the encounter and to live to disappoint yourself another day.
Nobody can touch my swag. Nobody can deal with my swag.
Now that you know how to find a date and how to sustain basic conversation without having an aneurysm, let's get to some noteworthy red flags. These can be things that your potential partner does, but it can also be things that they don't do. Since I'm running low on time, I'm going to go over some examples of extremely serious red flags. These are pretty much deal breakers under every circumstance. 1, they're married, unless you're into that. They're pregnant, again, unless you're into that. They have a kid and it's not yours. That's not a good sign. They have a kid and it is yours. This means you screwed up somewhere. The person you want to date is related to you. This is generally a pretty big red flag in most places. The person you want to date is under 18. Now, this one's not only a red flag, but it's also a crime. But if you do find yourself with feelings for someone still in high school, a great way to remedy that is just to talk to them for 20 minutes and count how many times they use the word like. If your date enjoys Fortnite dancing in public, you should be checking them into a mental hospital instead of dating them. It's kind of a logical conclusion there. If they're a furry, then I think it's your civic duty to hunt some game for the rest of us.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
To put this presentation out of its misery, the act of getting a date is probably one of the hardest things someone can do in their lives. From finding the right person, where to find them, and flirting while avoiding red flags, this ain't easy. I think these steps are pretty good to follow, because since most of it is a thought experiment, because let's be honest, you're gonna die alone, you can practice it everywhere. In the car, at school, or letting it interrupt my thoughts of inadequacy before I go to bed.
Pizza time.